I think we're live, and this is a Libertarian Currents episode. There's lots of current events to talk about. I'm David. Jacques will join us in a few moments, and we're on screen here with Michael Harris. Michael, you're the candidate for the upcoming by-election. Could you please just introduce yourself, tell us about the by-election, and over to you.
Well, my name is Michael Harris. I'm running with the Libertarian Party for the Battle River Crowfoot by-election. It's a pretty, I'd say almost a pretty close election here now with, I believe we almost 210 something other candidates that are running in this by-election. I've been out here door knocking since I'd say about early May to be able to hear about the issues facing the people of this riding and to be able to give them a voice where they feel like that they haven't been heard.
Great. So it's a good introduction. We're going to definitely talk about the by-election. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody that's tuning in that we are live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and if you're on those, and maybe Rumble, if that integration is working. If you're on those platforms, you can chat with us. You can send us messages, and both Michael and I can respond to you in real time. So the date of the by-election coming up in Battle River Crowfoot is the 18th of August, yes?
Yes, yes, that is
And
correct.
so this is such an interesting by-election. There's this long ballot committee. We're going to talk about that in a moment. There's Pierre Poilievre, of course, who isn't from the riding, but he's parachuting in to run. He's thought to be the front runner. But there's so much going on here. What are you hearing on the ground about you, for example?
Yeah.
Like when people meet you, are they familiar with you already, or are they meeting you for the first time?
Well, it depends on where I'm going because I've lived in Drumheller a majority of my life. So most of the people that I go and talk to in Drumheller, odds are they know who I am, and they're honestly surprised that I'm even running in this election in the first place. But if I go outside of Drumheller, outside of my hometown, a lot of people are just surprised to see that there's a youngster willing to put their hat in the race and willing to fight for them. A lot of people feel like, well, we have to choose between we have a 6-year-old over here or 6-year-old over there. There's actually somebody who's young, enthusiastic, and is willing to put in the work. A lot of people are willing to give me a shot on it. And as well, too, it also helps that not really a lot of our politicians are really actually supporting the people in this riding. And so a lot of people feel like they're not heard properly. I've been in Three Hills quite a bit over this election period, and almost every single house that I knocked on said that they support ending equalization in its entirely and supply management. And no other politician in this election is willing to take a stand on those issues. And so they're willing to give me a shot to hear me out. And that's all I'm asking for this election.
So those are the most important issues, and they bring them up, or do you inquire about them?
Well, most of the time, I usually like to ask other people what they think, as I believe that if we should have a government, the people that are our politicians should be our representatives, not someone who tells you, I know what's best for you. This is what I'm going to do for you. No, I should be your representative. So I always ask, something that I always try to ask is, what would you like to see done to support your community? What would you like to see done that would be able to improve your life? And on their own, people will bring up that they've been mistreated by Ottawa. They want equalization to end. If they're a farmer or a rancher where, if they feel like that they're not going to make ends meet by the end of the month, they want supply management gone. And they bring that up on their own. And to me, that's a brush, I'm slurring my
Breath?
words right now here. It's a breath of fresh air that
Mhm.
people are seeing these issues and are willing to start talking about it. And I'm going to take these issues and bring it to the debate tomorrow on their behalf.
How do they frame the concern about supply management?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. You have a lot of younger farmers that are trying to move into the area, and their very big issue is that they can't afford the massive quotas for their production. If they have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to be able to get into the quota system, then if they're not able to get enough money to even put up that investment, then they can't even get on the ground to start farming in the first place. And those that are already currently established face the problem of, well, maybe I might be producing so much that I have to dump all of my production every single month. I was talking to a guy, his name's Johnny, that he lives in Three Hills, where he has to dump on average 800 liters of milk every single month just so he doesn't get in trouble by the federal government. So you have stuff like that where it's like most of these people just want it gone because it affects their life through and throughout.
It's a protectionist policy to protect the incumbents. So it harms, it makes it difficult for newcomers to the market, and those that are in the market already, like you said, are penalized by producing too much.
Yeah.
Do
It's
they?
only benefiting those big businesses in Quebec that they benefit from the higher prices. Where there's honest competition out west that want to produce a lot. They want to make things cheaper, and the government is just not letting them make it cheaper.
So they bring that up as well. This
Yeah.
east-west
Oh, 100.
concern.
That's probably the biggest talking point I've heard in this election so far has been the divide between East and West, whether it be equalization, supply management, or even this upcoming referendum on Alberta independence. That gets brought up in almost every single conversation at the door.
I'm going to get a visual for us to look at because I have one ready related to equalization, and it's because it's on that topic. But as I do that, maybe help us understand that. So Pierre Poilievre is largely considered the front runner.
Yeah.
What are you hearing from people about Pierre? Positive or negative? What are you hearing?
Well, you obviously have a lot of Pierre loyalists that are still in the riding. A lot of people believe that if he does not win and if he doesn't continue to be the leader of the party, that the party has no future, that there's no one else to run. So there's a lot of people wanting to support him because, well, if we don't, what's going to happen to the party? Then you obviously have those that don't care about politics and just want their lives to, be well and not get screwed around by the federal government. And they see that their MP has abandoned them, and you have another person from Ontario that does not know their issues, has not fought for their issues, and has continued to voice his opposition against the issues that would benefit the people of this riding. And so you have those people that are dissatisfied now. Maybe they might have previously voted conservative in a previous election, but are now switching because of it. And then you have the people that never supported the conservatives in the first place and are just wanting someone else to win. And you've seen stuff where you have the other independent candidate, you have Bonnie running as she believes that she is a centrist candidate. And I've seen a lot of liberals and especially New Democrats put their faith behind her campaign. And I'm seeing a lot of conservatives, especially online, a lot of conservatives put their faith behind my campaign as we're trying to bring the actual policies that people want to see in this riding to the front page of this election.
Let me put something on screen here for us to look at, comment. So this is a post on X from January 31st, I guess. So this is it was the Alberta Separate account, Alberta Separate. Dear Albertans, this is how Team Canada looks. And it's a graph showing us the equalization wealth redistribution, of course, from Alberta, the largest contributor for the past, well, since 2007, and Quebec, the largest recipient. So the pain that you're hearing on the doorstep when you're door knocking, this isn't a fiction.
Yeah. Well, it's not a fiction at all. Like most people, like they see these graphs, and they're sick and tired of it. Most of the time, people ask me, Michael, what is the current rate that equalization is going nowadays? Like, how much are we paying this year into equalization? And usually, I give the current number, and they get surprised the number is as high as as it is. And it's a very big problem when you're going to a lot of these smaller towns, a lot of these rural smaller towns where they haven't seen infrastructure funding in, like I was in Acme the other day, in almost 60 years. And so they feel it's completely unfair and unjustified that they are paying not only high taxes to the federal government in the first place, but there's money that they are paying in their taxes that they will never see again to themselves. And there's a lot of people that have become dissatisfied because of that. And like I said, I think almost every single person at the door has this as their main issue.
You told me a story about Acme that a certain amount of infrastructure funding was promised by the federal government, and then some of that money was found to have been spent in Montreal.
Yes.
Can you tell us that story?
So basically, the city of Acme, for the longest time, has not had any support whatsoever for infrastructure development. It's so bad that they're still dealing with some roads that have been in the ground since they originally laid the foundation of the roads of the town. Like in 60 something odd years.
Yeah, asphalt that's like 60 years old.
Yeah, like you have potholes that go up to my belly button, I'd probably say. Like they're bad. And the
Yeah.
fact that that town hasn't got any support, in my opinion, is pretty crazy. But both the provincial and federal government over the last couple of years have promised, we see your issues. We're here to help. We're from the government. We're here to help. And they offer these loans or grants. The provincial government offered them $2 million. You had the federal government that offered them just recently in this year $4 million. And the problem was, as I was talking to the mayor of the town, that money never showed up. It's now we're in almost the end of July here, and not a single dollar has been raised from either of these two government groups to be able to support this town. Now, they've gone ahead and started trying to put some asphalt on the ground using the little limited funds that they have at their disposal from the municipal government sense. But without actual support from the government, it's very unlikely that they're actually going to be able to properly fix all of those roads. And it also doesn't help that the government won't let the citizens of the town be able to put their own asphalt or their own stones and be able to fill those potholes. It's actually illegal for them to do so. So you have a literal construction standstill where the government says they're going to do stuff, but they're not. And the people aren't allowed to fix those issues. So what are the people of Acme supposed to do? And this isn't just Acme. There's been problems in all over these towns. Like Hannah is an example. It's not as bad as Acme, but same issue. They pay all these taxes into the federal program to support infrastructure development, and they don't see a cent back.
It's a common story. So we've heard you tell us that at the door when you're knocking, people bring up equalization, they bring up supply management, they bring up separation. I was asking you about what you're hearing about Pierre Polyev, and I guess are they? And you also said that people are surprised that you're so young, and that you're
Yes.
involved, and that you show up with such a nice hat, and
I
so
wear it properly, unlike some candidates in the selection.
so I was able to be with you just for a brief afternoon, and we did some door knocking together. But you've been around this riding in full,
Yeah.
and I know you've been traveling to the far corners. Uh, have you come across others? And could you tell us about Bob? Like was there a guy
Yeah.
showing up at people's doors claiming to be you somehow?
Yes. So I actually did an interview with, hold on, I did a full interview with, well, let me just pull it up here, the Northern Perspective, just a couple of days ago about this issue. In the towns of Linden and Acme, we mentioned the lovely town of Acme again, that there was someone going around both before I got there and after that I got there, claiming to be working on behalf of our party and behalf of me to collect signatures to be able to get onto the ballot, as active as 6 days ago, as of
Wow.
people telling me in the writing. And this is a big issue because, well, I've already been on the ballot since June 30th. So it's a very big issue where I've been on there for almost a month and a half here, and yet there is apparently still people on my behalf collecting signatures. There's some fraudulent activity going on here. I don't know who's doing it, but I've heard it from at least 50 people that someone is doing this. And it's just disrespectful, whoever the hell is doing this. And I hope we can get some door camera footage of it, because I'd love to bring this to the police.
Yeah, without footage, I don't think there could be anything done about it. And I guarantee Elections Canada is asleep at the wheel here and not looking. I mean, sorry, I shouldn't make that assumption, but I believe people may have reported it. I'm not sure if they're acting on it. They certainly are acting on the long ballot nonsense. Can we change the topic and talk about the long ballot?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Oh, I just
what are
wanted to
people saying about it?
answer a question from Lisa I
Oh,
see in the
sure.
chat. I was asking about the signs. Yeah, I unfortunately was a little bit late to the sign game. I'm not running with a $2 million budget for this election, unlike some people who are stealing some money from the taxpayers for it. But as of 3 days ago, I have covered both the towns of Stettler and Drumheller with my signs. So you should be able to see them around now. They should be all up now. Hopefully, I'm hoping no one's taking them down.
Excellent. Good to see. And I know you had a bit of a snafu with the signs, that there was some text missing, and that was corrected.
Yes, that was all corrected. Yeah, there was that was also delayed as well too, because the authorized by the official agent of Michael Harris was not on the sign. And yeah, I didn't want that to be illegal on there, so I wanted to make sure it was all fixed and ready to go.
So, Michael, let's just pause.
So I was
Let's
just going
pause
to
for a moment,
bring one
and
of my
I'm going to bring I'm going to bring Jacques on screen. So Jacques has just arrived, and let's say hello here to Jacques. Oh my gosh, there. That's Jacques. Good evening.
Good evening. I
Welcome.
apologize for my lateness, but something came up.
And there's Michael's sign. Bring that
Oh yeah,
back to the
there we
screen.
go.
There we go. Excellent. Looking good. And I just would like to welcome Jacques to the room. We got started without him, and he was busy. But so again, for those tuning in, we're streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Jacques, we were just talking about the by-election coming up and what Michael's hearing at the door when he knocks on the doors. We were just about to turn our attention to the longest ballot committee. And Michael, what are you hearing from people about that? Because it's directly affecting people in this riding,
Yeah.
in that riding, which is kind of near to me. But what are you hearing about that? People supportive generally or angry about it?
No, I don't think there's been a single person I've talked to that isn't supportive of this. Even those that are against Pierre Poilievre generally feel like this is a bad idea that is hurting the availability of the other candidates that are wanting to actually provide an opposition to Pierre Poilievre. And I've even heard this myself. I've gone door knocking, and a lot of people, thunder outside, a lot of people think that because of this, any third party candidate that's not conservative, liberal, or New Democrat is with the longest ballot committee. And so half the battle to some of these people at the door has been to explain, no, we're an independent party. We've been around since the 70s. We're advocating for your individual sovereignty. You want to make sure that the government's not running around, screwing around your life, and that there's an actual third party alternative that's going to be on the ballot. And that's been half the conversation right there.
So for those of you that might be new to this problem, there's a group that they call themselves the Longest Ballot Committee or the Long Ballot Committee, and it's run by we know that one of the organizers is a known affiliate and proud. He's an outspoken member of I think the Marxist-Leninist Party.
Yes, I believe so. There was a little article that the Marxist-Leninist Party posted out, I think, a couple of months ago that was by the official agent of the Longest Ballot Committee. So
Yeah, so if you look at the names on the longest ballot, they all have the same official agent, and so it's
yeah,
one person that is the official agent for now more than 100 other people,
yeah, Mr.
something like
Thomas.
that. And Jacques, you've been kind of following this news as well. What do you feel about this longest ballot committee? Because frankly, libertarians are sort of split on the issue. Some people are deeply in favor, others are frustrated about it. What do you think?
Well, I'll give you two answers. Let me start by presenting my point of view. I in general, I much prefer people who try uh, to build or to construct, or as opposed to just making a mess of things. I know that they are not happy with first past the post. That's their point, right? Like it's the way that they protest. They don't like first past the post. I don't either. But I'm advocating, or I'm leading a party that would change that if we ever formed the government. It just seems to me to be somewhat silly and not going to do very much. So that's my personal view. Now, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, because I have now been, over the last few years, in close contact with Elections Canada. I've gone to their annual meeting where they bring registered parties and tell us what's going on. And one thing that is very clear with Elections Canada, because they repeat it ad nauseum, but it's probably true, they don't make the rules. They enforce the rules. Okay? The rules are made by MPs. So I think what's going to happen is, and I fear this, is that they are going to increase the requirements in order to make it on the ballot. I've heard it, I think it's a trial balloon where you would need 1,000 signatures in order to run. And if that's the case, we are going to be, along with other fully registered, legitimate parties, going to be in deep, deep trouble. because to get 1,000 signatures when you are a small party is extremely difficult. And that to me would not be improving democracy in this country.
I agree. Pierre Poilievre suggested it. He wrote
Yeah.
a statement and included that as one of the suggested modifications. I think there are other ways that they could modify the rules. For example, that no one person could be an official agent for more than one candidate, or that if like there's just other ways that they could address this issue without entrenching more power to the established parties.
Yeah. Pierre
There is
Poilievre,
Michael, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I was going to agree with you completely there. I was going to bring that up. Pierre Poilievre is wanting to use this longest ballot committee as an excuse to be able to push him wanting that 1,000 limit on there. He wants you to be able to have to get 1,000 signatures to be able to run. And like Jacques was saying, that's going to be pretty bad for any smaller party. And he's, like I said, he's trying to weaponize this as a full frontal assault against smaller parties, because he knows that there is a very big opposition to him and his party right now. And we're going to try to fight back to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and anyone that has watched these live streams of us in the past know that I've spoken positively and favorably of many of the things Poilievre has done, and he's been outspoken on certain issues that I think are important, and I agree with some of those positions he has taken. I absolutely disagree with him on this. However, let me just add, there's recent news about the longest ballot committee. So I'm going to put on screen breaking news. This was just today, earlier, 2:45 p.m. The longest ballot initiative has face planted. The ballot was too long and voters must write in their choice. So the ballot was going to be more than 7 feet long. And so Elections Canada has made a choice to now require that you simply write the person's name. And I think this is honestly the best outcome possible. I truly believe that in every election in our future, everyone should just go to the ballot box and write down the name of their preferred candidate. If you're paying attention, you should know their name and you should be able to write it down. And if you're not paying attention and you just show up and vote by default for some party, I think that that's less valid. So I love the way that this has turned out. This whole clown show has turned out with a result I absolutely support.
Great comment here about Michael's last name being easy to spell or easy to write. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have been asking about that, especially if seen it online in the last couple of hours here, is how far is the Elections Canada going to go with like getting rid of names on the ballot? Like if someone misspells a name, as an example, does that mean that it's instantly going to get thrown out? I think we're going to see a lot of ballots being either wasted or thrown out for this election, in my opinion, because I don't think people are going to have an easy time spelling Pierre's name. There's a couple of other people on this ballot that also has really long names. It's going to be very interesting to see, at least.
Jacques, have you been a scrutineer in your past also? Because I have, and I don't think, Michael, like I don't think you need to be that nervous about it. I think the counters and the scrutineers are going to use their discretion, and in my experience, that they've been pretty reasonable and fair. Jacques, do you have an opinion about that?
You're up on me there because I've never had that privilege and joy.
For anyone watching, like contact someone in a future election and be their scrutineer for them or with them. It's really easy to do. It's fun. You can see sort of behind the curtain how ballots are counted, and when I was able to observe as a scrutineer, my confidence in our elections increased. I think that's a good thing to observe. So let's turn our attention, though, to some upcoming events, Michael. Oh, he's not at the chair at the moment. Okay, let's go to Michael. You have some events coming up. One of them is tomorrow, really important. Tell us about what's happening in Camrose.
So that's probably the biggest event of my career so far, but the city of Camrose is hosting a debate with 10 of the other candidates that are running in this election, including myself. There's going to be 1,200 people there at this debate. And it's going to be quite an interesting one, to say the least, because there's going to be not only 1,200 people that are going to be there, but it'd also be an opportunity because they're allowing us to set up a party table as an example. So where I'm actually going to be able to speak one-on-one to the people that are coming to this debate, and I'm hoping to turn a couple of people around for it. It's also going to be broadcast on national television as well too. Supposedly, CBC and CTV are also going to be recording the entire debate from start to finish. So I'll make sure to push some of our libertarian values onto the national movement.
I wish I could be there. I will be tuning in. I suppose if it's being broadcast by some of the major media, I'll be able to tune in as I drive north to northern Alberta.
Yeah. But worst case scenario, you can always just go on the official City of Camrose website and you'll be able to see the debate. Also, it will be live streamed on there.
Excellent. What time does it start?
The doors open at 6 p.m., but
Mountain.
the actual debate itself starts at 7.
So that's 8 and 9 Eastern, 6 and 7 Mountain. You've got some other events coming up. Tofield on
Yep.
the 31st.
Yes, on 31st we have
Thursday?
a debate on this Thursday. That one's an interesting one because that one's the only one out of the 4 debates that we were invited to that is not being hosted by a city. It is actually being hosted by a private news organization called Talk Truth. And funny enough, Pierre Poilievre has declined to attend that debate. So I think that one's also going to be very interesting where everyone else is going to be there, but he is not going to be there.
And Drumheller on the 5th.
Yep, Tuesday will be Drumheller, same deal. 800 people are supposed to show up to that one as well too. That one will be a really good one because I'm going to see a lot of supporters in the room for that debate. And the Thursday of that week, we'll be ending off the campaign in Stettler. So that is going to be the biggest one, which is going to be about 1,600 people, which are supposed to show up to that debate. Also going to be live streamed. And we're going to be trying our best to be pushing as much libertarian policies as possible.
And Stettler on the 7th.
Yeah.
Did you already mention that?
Yeah, that's what I was just referring to. Yeah.
Sorry, yes. Now, Derek in the chat here has a suggestion. Why not have a watch party tomorrow night? And I think that would be a great idea, but I can't participate. I'll be traveling. So if someone else would like to post on X a URL where you could gather in a Zoom chat or something and watch with others, or on Discord channel, please arrange that. I mean, that would be great, and support Michael.
I think we're going to have a watch party like this on the 18th itself for the actual election as well too, so we can bring everyone online for it.
So thank you, Michael. We've heard about the by-election. What other topics do you think people should be talking about right now?
Well, at least in this debate, at least the only other thing that comes to mind is the upcoming referendum on Alberta independence. A lot of people have been talking about, especially in rural Alberta here. A lot of people are a little bit ticked off that Pierre Poilievre says he doesn't believe that Canadians should have the right to self-determination. And a lot of people that want to see that referendum are understandably annoyed at that. And so a lot of people want to hear that discussion of, well, we're being mistreated by the federal government. Maybe it's time that we leave the federal government.
So you're hearing that at the door. Jacques, I know you and I have talked about this briefly, about separation. Has your mood changed on this topic?
My mood?
Yeah, what's your mood about Alberta separation?
Well, given that I'm the leader of a party that advocates the ultimate level of separation, which is the individual level, I'm certainly not going to oppose anybody wanting to. But I'll tell you, I have made this point before, which it was a post on X a little while back where I think I made people sit up, right? Because Danielle Smith was going on about how, she was tired of taking orders from Ottawa, and I have all the sympathy in the world. But I said, what would she think if, say, the city of Calgary said, the heck with this, we don't like what's coming out of Edmonton, and we're out of here, right? I mean, look, I lived in Quebec long enough to know how these games are played, right? Oh, we Quebec separatists want to get the heck out of Canada. It's a terrible. Oh, but by the way, Quebec is not divisible, right? Like no part of Quebec can leave, and this is where I have a really hard time with this type of thinking, right? You want to advocate for freedom, fine, go ahead, but don't start getting in the way of people who want to get more freedom, for example, or a different type of freedom, from your own stuff. So, yeah, in principle, I'm all for people wanting to get more freedom, and if separation is the way to go, fine. I think it's deplorable that people have to come to that because people won't listen to their needs and concern. But sometimes it's like being in a bad relationship. Sometimes you have to leave.
Can I add that, like, I was thinking a lot about this issue of separation, and this is a very unique separatist movement in Canada's history, I think. And here's what I mean by that. Like, you can look at, there are at least 4 separatist movements that are active right now. Like, there's the oldest one, which is let's say, the indigenous communities that would much rather that the Europeans had never arrived. And they would happily separate from the Europeans and send them back across the ocean if they could. That's the original separatist movement. And then maybe Quebec, who would have preferred that the French hadn't lost that war or those battles, and that the French would have become the dominant governing culture and so that separatist movement is long-standing and well-known, right? There's a third separatist movement I was thinking about, which is Newfoundland. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are still people alive in Newfoundland who were born in Newfoundland. They were born and didn't get a Canadian citizenship. They were not born with a Canadian identity or a Canadian passport. They're and when a Newfoundlander flies a Newfoundland flag, in the back of their truck or in their living room window, many of them are not flying the provincial flag. They're flying that flag to represent the nation, I believe, of Newfoundland. Then there's Alberta. And Alberta is unique because this is a group that were Canadian always. They were never something else. They weren't, occupied by European settlers like the Indigenous were. They aren't a separate language and culture system like Quebec is. They weren't subsumed the way that Newfoundland was. How bad does it have to get that people of Alberta have grown up Canadian and are now willing to take a chance on an entirely new future without the rest of Canada?
Well, a lot of people believe that Alberta does have a distinct culture compared to like the provinces of Ontario, as an example. People can agree or disagree on that, but a lot of people believe that like Alberta represents the spirit of the West, or like the pioneer spirit, as an example, where you have the big bloated government in Ontario represents like the controllers, those that are wanting to take away that heritage and that spirit of the West. And so a lot of people feel that the cultures of Ontario and Alberta are so distinct that the only way to safeguard that culture is to be able to leave. And that is what people have been saying. And in this campaign, I haven't been pushing the idea of independence as an absolute. Most of the people just want to see a referendum on Alberta independence. They just want to have their voice heard because they know that if a referendum happens, regardless if they stay in the country or not, this is going to be brought to the national attention that we are being mistreated here in Confederation, and at the very bare minimum, we want a better deal.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But
where do we go from here, fellas?
I mean, excuse me. I just want to add, there's a comment here that says if the federal government was small enough, no problems would want to separate. That's true. But this goes, excuse me, it goes, I think, for all aspects of our lives. I recently read someone who said, can you imagine a government that is so small that you don't care who wins? I mean, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? So, yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of people who are sleepwalking through this and completely oblivious to the hurt that they've caused in Alberta.
I agree. I've never experienced, growing up out west, I've never experienced this sort of sentiment. Like, you overhear it in the aisles in the grocery store, and you sit down at a coffee shop and someone at the next table is talking about it, or you go around a campfire and sit with neighbors and it comes up in conversation. Like, it is on the surface, and it's very, very interesting.
Oh, let me just on that, because it's somewhat related. So there's a comment here about, socialist BC disgusts me in its current state. Many would join Alberta if they left. I'll tell you, back when I was working, our U.S. head office was in Denver. And over the years, I had a lot of, interaction with my American colleagues who were complaining, and these were the people in Colorado, complaining about Californians moving to Colorado because they didn't like the state of the taxes and all kinds of nonsense. And yet, he said, it's amazing that they can't connect the dot, because they come to Colorado and the first thing they want to do is implement all the policies in California that made a mess of things, right? So yes, I think this person is right. There's a lot of people who move from BC to Alberta only to start implementing in Alberta the things that went wrong in BC. It's just shocking to me that people can't connect the dots.
I agree. Okay, new topics. Anything you want to discuss? Current events?
Well, let's have a small discussion about trades. And I don't know if you saw, there was a piece in the Toronto Sun where the word out there is that the Canadian delegation is simply playing games, that there's absolutely nothing serious being put on the table. I don't know if it's done out of complete incompetence, which, this being the Liberals, wouldn't surprise me, or if there's some kind of end game that they're trying to achieve. But according to this reporter, all we're doing right now is pissing off the Americans because we're not being serious. And of course, the idea that, well, we solve the problem by taxing Canadians, right? Because what tariffs are going to do is it's complete nonsense.
I'm looking for an X post because I'm aware of this news, and related to that is this bizarre culture war that Canadian Liberal politicians have started against some sort of Christian rock singer. Like, at the very time that we should be negotiating with Donald Trump and trying to reach a reasonable deal, we have Canadian senators. There's the senator from Alberta, appointed by Trudeau, was trying to demand that this Christian rock and roll singer not be allowed to perform. It's absolutely bizarre.
Well, it's more than bizarre, David. It is downright scary, because as someone on X posted, it was a beautiful post, very apt. He said, we are at the point now where your rights are not, they're not absolute rights. They are conditional on other people approving of what you do with them.
Yeah.
And that is hugely dangerous. This idea that we don't have absolute rights is, it's complete anathema to, of course, what we believe in as libertarians. You cannot, it's like these people say, I believe in free speech, but, well, sorry, but you've lost me.
Well, they're trying to make it so you have to get a permit to be able to go to his concerts in church, and people have been asking if what's going on between the separation of church and state now because of it, that you have to get a government permit to be able to go to church in Canada. And that's what they're doing here in Montreal.
Oh, I know, but they're making some sort of word game with the word concert.
Yeah.
This guy isn't just performing in church, he's performing a concert, and therefore we need. No, it's all nonsense. Here's a tweet from a sitting Canadian senator, and it's just disgusting. The concert should not be allowed to be held at any public-owned facility, let alone the Alberta legislature. Pull the permit like other cities have done. There should be no space for hate on any public property. Let's just be clear. I have no idea what this hate stuff they're talking about is it that he's a Christian man and therefore believes in the sanctity of marriage? Is it that he doesn't agree with abortion? Is it that he like none of this used to matter. You used to in this country called Canada, you used to be able to express such opinions. And now it appears that even singing songs about this stuff needs to be at the behest of and the approval of Canadian senators.
Well, David, it's very simple. Hate in this country now is anything you disagree with. It's as simple.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. It is used as a slur. You are hateful if you say things that I disagree with. You're right. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that people could disagree, in a very fine manner, and but now no, the slurs are flying all over the place. And by the way, this guy, like many people, have got it completely backwards in terms of the Charter of Rights does apply to all public spaces. Where it does not apply is in private spaces. And people, when you look at X or other posting, they got it completely backwards. They think that the Charter does not apply to public spaces and it only applies to private. They got it backwards. Like, in your private property, you're allowed to discriminate. You're allowed to do whatever you want, really, right? I mean, you can choose who you let in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose this on whatever basis. You could be racist and decide not to have people of color in your place or whatever it is, right? And the Charter does not apply to you. But in public space, it does apply. But I mean, this is par for the course. Once again, we have a charter, we have a constitution, and it gets ignored all the time. Like, we don't like what it says, so we're just going to pretend it's not there.
The charter really does seem like it's too easily perverted to not just to not at all protect your freedom of expression, but to protect others from your expression. I think it's a terribly flawed document. It's one of the reasons right over here I don't have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms on my wall. I have the Bill of Rights. It's about the most libertarian document ever published by a prime minister in our country, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was a time bomb set by Pierre Trudeau. That first statement that all of the rights and all of our fundamental freedoms are subject to government approval. Oh, well. Yeah, so that's an interesting topic. Hey, so I wonder, we should start wrapping up. And, there's a comment here. Let me get that on screen if I can.
Yeah, I was just reading it.
Thank you, Snarky Trader. Let me see if I can get that on screen. So I can't quite click on it.
It's a quote by the Halifax Liberal MP, Shannon. I have the utmost respect for the value of freedom of speech, but I do not believe that this event aligns with Parks Canada's core values of respect for people, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And then while I fully respect the right of freedom of speech, I do not believe that this event reflects the value of respect that this city basically is wanting to have.
Can anyone tell us, like in the chat, please tell us, what has this singer said or done to be lambasted this way? Like, I really don't know.
To my knowledge, I think Sean is just because he's played at a lot of Trump events before, like their rallies. He does a lot of singing for them. To my knowledge, that's the reason. There might be more, but that's from what I've heard, that's the reason.
So the current sitting president of our largest trading partner, with whom we desperately want to have a trade relationship with, and we're in negotiations actively with that president and his administration, we're picking a fight because we don't like that this guy performed at some of Trump's events.
Yes.
And he's a Christian right-winger. Yeah, I guess that's it. Wow.
David, before we go,
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a small comment about the Leach and Barber trial,
Yes. Sure.
because the um, judgment will be rendered in October now. I don't know why so long, but I would encourage people to pick up a copy of the National Post of 2 days ago, where someone listed a number of crimes
Yeah.
where what the Crown asked for, what in some cases was considerably less than what the Crown asked for in the case of Leach and Barber.
Yeah.
It's a complete travesty of justice. Um, you and I have talked about this, David. It is clear that in the hierarchy of crime in this country,
Yeah.
by far the most vile, the most disgusting crime is to resist the state.
It's the
Nothing.
one most harshly penalized. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I mean, there was an instance where it was a young child who was tortured to death,
Yeah.
and the Crown asked for, I believe, 8 years, which is the same as they're asking right now. Right? Imagine that. In one case, no violence whatsoever. The other one, you torture a child and you ask for exactly the same thing. I mean, our judicial system's a complete mess, and
Yeah.
and they're weaponizing the judicial system. It's it, it's disgusting. There's no other word.
It's an uneven application of the laws. And so I have that National Post article here on screen. It was written by Tristan, and I just forgot his last name. It was on the tip of my tongue until I actually started speaking his first name. So Tristan, it'll come to me. But here's an example. 60 days of house arrest for threatening to bomb all synagogues in Toronto and to kill as many Jews as possible. This person was sentenced to 60 days of house arrest, while Tamara Leach, they want 7 years in jail. She's already spent 48 days in jail. Much of that was in solitary confinement before even her trial, before even charges were officially laid. 60 days of house arrest to threaten all synagogues and kill Jews.
You know, Murray Rothbard once said that all governments, even dictatorship, are fully dependent on the willingness of people to be governed. And like at some point, when people withhold their willingness to be governed, things change. And when I see things like this, I think that we get closer and closer to the day where people say, you know what, we have had enough. And certainly, if this type of nonsense is one of the reasons why people in Alberta want to separate and have a judicial system that is fairer, who could blame them? Because I see this and I want no part of this.
Funny enough,
Yeah.
a lot of people that I've been talking to during this election has actually said that if she does get jail time, or if either of them gets any form of jail time, it's actually going to support the independence movement in somewhat. Like, a lot of people believe that if they go to jail, a lot of people, it'll be like the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people that will finally switch over. And that seems to be quite a high sentiment here in this riding as well too.
Here's an interesting tweet. I saw this and I bookmarked it because I thought this topic might come up. I don't know who this person is, Marco van Hugenbos. I don't know if it's a pseudonym or a true name, but I find it interesting, and maybe I would agree with it. Canada has become a communist country. Our policing and protective services spend more time dealing with the totalitarian agenda of government than addressing crime and protecting its citizens, etc. The courts have been politicized. All levels of government have created level upon level of bureaucracy that restricts citizens in all aspects of private, public, or business life. Billions are thrown on inefficient state-owned, state-controlled industries that benefit the elites. Every day, a new bylaw, fee, permit, tax law, or other directive from local, provincial, or federal levels of government further erodes what was, a short years ago, one of the greatest countries in the world. And I find it just amazing how rapidly this creeping totalitarianism has come into effect. Like it's not creeping so much as it's quite sudden, and it's like we can point to a decade where Canada has changed fundamentally.
Yes, true.
What more to say? Let's try to change that.
Yeah.
Michael,
Yes.
do your best tomorrow at the debate,
Yep.
and I wish you all the best there. Let me just shut off that screen, and we can see your wonderful face again.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap it up. We've been at it for a little while here. Thanks for those that have been chatting. How about Michael and then Jacques? Maybe just say a few words as we close. Michael, over to you.
Well, I think that this election has offered us a very good opportunity to be able to push the ideas of libertarianism and the wants of this party to the national level. For a long time, a lot of people might be looking at this party and says that it's a third party and is not to be taken seriously. And I think people with this election are starting to take it a little bit more seriously in this riding here, where a lot of people are seeing that the establishment is not working for them anymore. It's actually leaving them behind. And they want a third party alternative. And we're going to be out there every single day, knocking on doors, talking to people, going to these debates, talking to these events. I'm going to stay until the people kick me out of this debate. I will be staying in that building to talk to people as long as people wanting to come up and talk to me, because I'm going to be wanting to make sure that as many people hear about this election and hear about the alternatives that we are offering as we can.
All the best, Michael. I know you're working really hard. Over to you, Jacques.
Yeah, Michael, I wish you the best. It's wonderful, wonderful. You're an example to many of us. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Oh, is your website up yet?
My website?
Yes, it is. Give
Yeah,
me
it's
that
been up
address.
it's been up for about 30 days, I'd say.
No, but with your donate?
Yes, it's been up. Yeah. It's
Okay.
We actually have a separate section for that on my website. You can go at michaelharrisformp.ca, and we have talks a little bit more about my platform, talks a little bit about how you can join and help the party out, or if you just want to donate or hear about what I'm doing at that day specifically, I have a little handy dandy little blog too as well. So if people want to learn a little bit more about what I'm doing, it's all there readily available for people.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and it's been a interesting discussion. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Sorry,
Everyone.
David, I just want. So I will donate to your campaign. I encourage everybody. Even small amounts will help, because Michael is young, he's poor, and he needs shelter and gasoline and food. All right. So please get behind him. Even small amounts will help.
He's a student. He's working hard. Excellent. Thank you, Jacques.
Yeah.
Everyone, have a great night.
Yeah,
Good night.